Hey, hello everybody. Let's see if you can hear me. I guess you can. I will just share my screen. And let's see if you can see it. Awesome. I hope I'm sharing my screen right now and you can all see it. Can somebody write something in the chat just to see if everything is okay and you can hear me and see me? Okay, great. I'm not sure if I'm seeing anything in chat, but
I can see it.
Okay, great. Martin is confirming everything works, so I will just get started from here.
Do we wait a bit for some introduction, or just...
No, Ethel said we can just start, so I will
Okay.
just continue from here. Ah, great. Actually, I can also now see the chat, which is great. Awesome. Julian is here. Ah, Julian, very good to see you. Awesome. So let me just start. Thank you for having us here. We are very excited that we can present to you Wasp and what we have been working on so far. So first, what I'm going to do is give you a short presentation of what Wasp is, what is the current state, what is the team behind it, our motivation, and then we are going to give you a short demo on how it works. I would say about 30 minutes. We're going to show how to create a simple to-do application, full stack using Wasp along with React, node.js, and Prisma. And on the end, it's going to be just a short outro to repeat what we have just seen and how you can contribute to Wasp and help us build it further. So yeah, without further ado, let me start the presentation part and the quick intro. Awesome. Hopefully you can now see full screen of my presentation. So Wasp is a DSL for building web apps 10x faster with React, Node.js, and Prisma. When we say with DSL, we actually mean domain-specific language, or in more layman terms, simple configuration language. So just to give you the short taste on actually, let's start with the team first. So it's me and my twin brother, Martin, who is also here on the call. So happy to present him as well. Shortly about us, we are both computer science engineers. We graduated our masters here in Croatia, in Zagreb, about 6-7 years ago. And we have actually been building web apps for the last 10 years. And also, previously in our previous life and during the academic period, we have been a lot in algorithm competitions, bioinformatics. So kind of always more on the, let's say, back-end deep tech side. But also, and yeah, we have been working in companies from Google, Palantir, and you can see the list down below, from internships to full-time employments. So we have been getting a lot of experience in different environments. And also, actually, funnily enough, we always ended up building web applications. And besides that, we have been working on machine learning and other kind of problems. We actually felt that building web apps is one of the areas which can be improved the most. So this is what piqued our interest and made us start Wasp. So why Wasp? As I mentioned before, we feel we have actually been kind of through all the technologies, from starting just from jQuery to Backbone to Angular. Martin was actually introducing Angular to Palantir in his internship there. And now we ended up with React and Node.js on the back end. Previously, we used Java and Python as well. So we actually felt that every time we need to start a new project, we need to relearn the latest stack and relearn all the best practices from the beginning. While actually, the domain isn't changing so much, we are kind of always building the same application from the outside, but we always have to keep relearning the stack to build the same application. So this is why we felt it is time to introduce some new abstractions which are going to streamline building web applications and make it easier and more accessible for developers. So kind of to wrap up on this, our goals with Wasp is to make developers write less boilerplate code, also to ensure best practices out of the box as much as we can. So we plan to be opinionated solution, like for example, Ruby on Rails and similar. And at the end, our goal is to separate specification, so the behavior of the web application, as much from the implementation of the web application as possible. And this is the main reason why we decided to go with this language approach, configuration language approach, because that allows us to put behavior of the application in the language, and then again leave to developer to put implementation in their own technology of choice, which is right now React and Node.js, which is what we are supporting right now. But I'm just going to show you a little bit more in illustrative way how it actually works. And yes, sorry, before I begin on that, the status of the project. So we actually started working on this about a year ago, a year and a couple of months. And we have been building a prototype along our full-time jobs, and then we felt actually we have something worth releasing. And we released our alpha version about 6 months ago, started getting some good traction. So everything is open source. So we definitely use the open source project to get attention from the developers. So far we have had over 200 projects created. The first few of them are also in production. So people are using Wasp for hackathons, side projects, MVPs in this alpha stage. And we have been getting a lot of good and informative feedback for what we are very, very grateful. And also we have been part of the latest Y Combinator batch, Winter 21, which means we have gotten some initial funding, and it actually allowed us to work on Wasp full time. So we are very grateful also for that opportunity to be able to focus just on Wasp for some foreseeable future. And also just to confirm what I just mentioned before, this is kind of our journey in sense of GitHub stars. So as I mentioned, we started this about a year ago, a bit more. And this flat line you see, all of that was before our alpha launch, just me and Martin trying out stuff, building a prototype, seeing what sticks, what doesn't. So early feedback from developer community has been very instrumental here. And then once we released the alpha version, we got some really nice traction on Product Hunt, as you can see also later, Hacker News, and people have actually started to use Wasp to build their applications. So we have been very excited to see traction both from users and open source contributors. So now we have about great 11 open source contributors, and we are very excited to have them on board, and are looking forward to also getting more. So now let's go to how it works part. I described it briefly, but I will just lead it to a few more examples on that. So as I mentioned, the idea is to describe high-level features in the Wasp configuration language, and you will see what it actually is. Then again, we are giving developers full flexibility to use React, Node.js, and Prisma for database, and actually write any code they might need to write. So we actually want Wasp to be able to support complex applications, which you can see nowadays. And also at the end, what is happening under the hood, everything is being compiled to pure React and Node.js application. So just to show the illustration of that, so you can see here on the left side is what is being written by developer. As I mentioned before, in the Wasp files, Wasp configuration language, you're going to define some high-level features like authentication, routing, data models. And then again, in, let's say, pure native code, right now React and Node.js, it's going to be a specific logic, database queries, your front-end components, and what is going to be happening on the other side. So everything is going through Wasp compiler or Wasp engine, which is doing all the job. And on the other side, we are generating all the code for pure, right now, React and Node.js application, using all the best practices, all the latest packages, and making sure everything along with the security is on top. So also, I mean, what we are generating right now is actually pretty human-readable code, and people are often actually surprised how nice it looks. So it was especially useful in this alpha stage because people could actually take over the code and just continue with it if they were afraid that Wasp is not supporting something they need right now. So it was good for the beginning to establish that trust, but now we are seeing actually that developers don't want to leave Wasp and they want to stay in it as much as possible. And this is also our end goal with Wasp as it evolves and becomes more mature. So just to give you a sense of how the language looks like before we go into the example. So here is a short example of Wasp configuration language. As you can see, it's very declarative and actually very simple to understand. So for example, here we have some simple configuration of the application, specifying title. Then, for example, here is routing and pages. And you can see in this highlighted green part, how we can actually reference outside external code, right now React, and connecting it with our Wasp code. So we are just saying, hey, this is the page, and this is going to be the top component of this React, of this page. So you can just continue with React from there. And also, for example, just to give you the taste of the authentication, there are several properties that user can define what is going to be the data model used for it and what are going to be the supported methods. So we are trying to keep everything super clean and super simple, and make it. We say we want to make it human readable. Actually, this part of language. And also, just to mention that we are using Prisma for database layer, and Prisma fits very good our use case because it is also DSL, domain-specific language. It's very declarative, very simple to understand. So it naturally fits into the premises of Wasp. So what we are doing, what are we going to see later is actually, we are just defining, letting people write their own PSL or Prisma schema language and just putting a wrapper around it for entities, which are data models in Prisma. So very good fit with Wasp. And yeah, now it's time for demo. So I will switch out of the presentation mode and actually let's do some coding. If you have any questions, also I forgot to mention that before, feel free to type it in chat, and I will also just share with you the links to our Discord channel. So you can also go there, and my co-founder and brother Martin is right there, so he can also answer any questions. Let me just go here to panelists and attendees. So here is, sorry, just the wrong link. Okay, right. Okay, I will actually let Martin paste the links to Discord, and because I have some troubles with pasting from Notion. So, but I will just feel free to go there and also ask any questions right there. Martin is ready there. Awesome. So let's go to demo. So what are we going to be doing with this demo? Is actually, as I mentioned, we will be building a simple to-do application, which I'm sure you are all very familiar with. And we are going to be focusing on two main features. So one is going to be the authentication, so full stack authentication. And on the other hand, I'm going to demonstrate how easy with Wasp it is to define simple CRUD operations, specifically creating and then listing tasks. So let's jump into that. I'm switching into my terminal. So what you need to do first, let me also show you. So there is a Wasp page, and basically you have the full instructions right here, how to do installation. So I can also lead you to that. Make sure you have the right, actually one more thing. I forgot to share the link to our GitHub repository, but Martin is also going to do that, just reminding him to put a link to our GitHub repo. With actually the whole code, so you can just copy and paste from there and make sure you can follow along if you want to do it right now. So I will just go back to coding, and basically what we have to do is just copy this curl, which is going to download the binary from Wasp. And all you have to do is paste it in your terminal, and it's going to do all the downloading for you. So now in my case, I already have it installed, so it's not kind of trying to install it again, but in your case, everything is going to work out perfectly. So once we have done that, we can actually just write Wasp, and it works like any other binary on your system. So we can see there is a list of commands. Now we're going to start with Wasp new. So let's create a new project. So let's call it Wasp new, and let's call this application todo. Awesome. So now we actually created that. We can see it right here, and we can see the content of the application. So we already scaffolded some of the code for you, so it's easier to get started. Then you have some nice intro page. So I will just show you how that looks like. Let's go here, and all we have to do right now is run Wasp start. So now this is going to take about 30 seconds to a minute because it is running for the first time. So it has to run, the whole npm install both on the client and the server side and backend side for the servers. So it's going to take a bit, but I'm just going to use that time to fire up my Visual Studio Code. Awesome. I just need to move all this zoom stuff so it doesn't obstruct my view. So Wasp, Prisma, and something is happening, which is great. To-do application. Awesome. So this is how the hello world page looks like, and basically we just put something here for you, but you can see that it actually works. And now you can also see the code. I will just zoom it maybe a little bit for you. I think this is fine. If you need it bigger, just let me know in the chat, and I can make it bigger. But yeah, so what is happening right here? As I said, right now we have a couple of files. So here is the main Wasp file, which has the basic configuration I mentioned before. For right now, we just have application with the title, and we have a single page, which is just showing actually. I can show you how the page looks like. Oops, sorry. So here is the basic React component, which is used for page, and we are showing welcome to Wasp and some buttons, tutorial, and Discord. As I mentioned, you can see it right here in action. So the first thing that we want to do right now is add authentication. So let's see how we are going to do that. It's actually pretty simple. So we will copy the declaration block I showed you before and put it in our main Wasp file. So here it is. This is basically, these 5 lines is everything you need to have a full stack authentication from front end and back end. So what is happening here with this configuration part, we are saying to Wasp, so look, you use user database model or entity as a principal for, this is actually where we are going to have password and email and all the needed properties. Then there's also authentication method. Right now we are going to be using just email and password. And we will also have support down the road for Gmail, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all the similar providers. And the last part is just what happens in case the authentication fails. You're going to be sent back to login route, which we also have to add. Great. So once we have done that, let's add the actual data model or entity, how we are calling them in Wasp for user. So I will just add it right now. And yeah, it's right here. So we can see here, as I mentioned, that we are using Prisma schema language. This is just a special Wasp keyword user. And we have all the basic stuff like ID, email, and password, which we need to have because we are using Wasp as user entity here in authentication. So once we have done that, let's also add our sign up and login routes, because obviously we need that. So let's start with sign up route. And again, very similar to what we have here for our home route, we will in the same fashion add sign up route. And what I need to do here is also add this sign up page. So let me do that. Also, I haven't mentioned before. So this X folder actually means external code. So all the JavaScript code, React, and Node.js is going to be in this folder. And this is what you have to follow. Everything else is freeform. So let me add a new file for. So this is again just a pure React component. So just put some code in here. So as you can see, this is very simple code. We just have a React, and what we are doing here is basically using sign up form. So sign up form is a cool thing is that this is provided by Wasp already. So all you have to do is import it in this way. So we have this Wasp namespace, which then gives you access to all the stuff which Wasp provides out of the box for you. So form is pretty simple, but you will also be able to customize it. And then if you need even more control, you can drop down and just invoke functions from the front end, which are doing authentication for you, but more on that on documentation. And I will also link to our documentation later. So what we are doing here is just using this form as it is. And basically, if you already have an account, just redirecting you to login page. Great, now let's do very similar stuff for our login page. So here it is. Here's login page, and again, we are going to create here a login page file. Nice. A little bit of copy paste, and very similar, pretty much the same thing. It is just that this time we are importing login form from the stuff provided by Wasp. Great. So now let's see how all this stuff is going to work. So now the one thing that we have to do is, since we added a new database model, we have to do database migration. So I will just switch back to our Wasp. As you can see, everything is still working, but actually Wasp is compiling that he doesn't know this new model. So we just have to do migration manually. So the way we are going to do it, let me just enter here to application, is with Wasp DB commands, which is just a proxy to Prisma commands. So what we do is just Wasp DB migrate dev, which is, I'm sure, familiar to all of you using Prisma. And now we have the migration going on. So let's call it edit user. And yeah. Great. Let's wait until everything is generated, which needs to be generated. Now, cool. Seems like we are good now. On the other side, stuff also looks good. So let's see it now in action. Awesome. Now, if we go to sign up route, So here we can see that the sign up form, very, very bones, but it's going to work for us. So let's register. I'll just add myself, some password, and let's sign up. Seems like I just need to restart the server after I made the migration. Just do that again. As you see now, it's much faster because everything is already generated, so we don't have to wait for the npm installs and everything. Great, seems now like we are back. Now, and let's try again this. Awesome, so now it works. You cannot see anything yet because we don't have a way to display if user is logged in or not. But what we can do is we can check it out in Wasp Studio, actually Prisma Studio. So again, very easy to do, WaspDB Studio. And now we are going to get an insight into the state of the database. Great. So we can see here is our model or entity user. And we can see, yes, we have our first user, which is me, and the password, which is also automatically hashed by Wasp. So you don't have to care about that. You just provide the password property in the entity, and we make sure everything is done correctly, from hashing to API communication, then full stack Java here. Awesome. So we have just seen how this works. So now let's move on to the next thing, which is actually going to be showing who is logged in or not, and also give you the possibility to log out. So what I'm going to do now, there is one cool property that we have available for Wasp, and that is that you can specify for a specific page is it accessible to only to logged in users, or is it a public page? So how are we doing it? Is by property called authentication required. So let's just put this to this page, because obviously like our application is going to be user only, so only the user can access the tasks. So now what we are saying is that user has to be authenticated in order to access this page. And for sign up and login, obviously it's okay to not be authenticated. So once we have done that, we just have to go to our page component here. Just move there. And once we have done that, we actually got to get available the property user in this component or main top component of this page, and we can just use it right away. So what I'm going to be doing here is just putting actually one more thing. I will also add the log out action here. So as you could probably imagine, Wasp is also taking care of this. So we are providing you with logout action, a function which you can call from front end. And with that, let's add the part of code, which is going to show who is logged in and who isn't. And also give you the opportunity to, sorry. Great. So as you can see here, basically we are saying you are logged in as user who is logged in and giving you an opportunity to sign out. Let me just add sign out component real quick. Great. And here it is just a simple button, which is calling the logout action I just imported here. Let's see how is this working. Everything seems fine. And if you go back to our application, let's go now to homepage. So we are obviously not logged in, so we have to log in because now it's getting us redirected. Great, we are logged in, and we can see actually that this is the correct email, and we can also log out. Great, so we have done that part. And if I log out and try to go to homepage, I'm going to be automatically redirected to login page, as I just showed before. So let's just, for the sake of this presentation, go back. Great. Awesome. So now the next thing, once we have done with the authentication, let's go to the more fun stuff, which is creating tasks. So the first thing that we have to do if we are going to have tasks is obviously have a task entity. So now we are already experienced with this and we know how to do it. And so let's just do it. So here's the simple entity for tasks. As you can see, everything is also very simple, description, and pretty much is it done or not, the Boolean flag. So right here, I'm not connecting it to the single user because So just for the sake of the simplicity. So let's say all the users are having a global pool of tasks, just to keep it simple in this tutorial. But of course, we can do typical 1 to n combination of between entities in database. So with that being done, let's again run database migration. So on this side, I'll just do Wasp db dev. Let's call this migration edit task, and it should be done. Nice. Okay, cool. Once we have done that, we actually have to have a way to somehow create a new tasks. So for that, there is a specific abstraction in Wasp to support this kind of database operations. So we have two types of database operations. It is actions, which means creating something in the database like mutation. And on the other hand, we have queries, which is for fetching the information from the database. So right now, let's start with action for creating tasks. So this is also the keyword. And I'm just going to show you how it looks like. So again, it's part of the Wasp file. And just this part to have it nicely delineated. Great. So we have an action create tasks. And again, what we are doing here is we are referencing to our outside code, which is going to be a node.js function doing stuff on the database. And on the other hand, this part is saying which entities is this action affecting. So, and this is basically a list, like, we have like task, user, whatever else. So right now it's only task, and that is useful for Wasp because then Wasp knows, if this operation is affecting tasks and changing them, then I know I need to update all the queries which are depending on tasks. So we get some nice automatic cache invalidation, query refreshing, kind of saving us a lot of headache that we usually have to do all manually. But we are going to see it more in action a bit later. Great. So once we have done that, let's also create the actual code, which I just referenced here. So we will add another file called actions.js. So we don't have to call it actions.js. It can be anything. This is just now for this example, but you can call it whatever you like. We go to actions and let's import this action. Great. So let's see how this looks like. So again, Wasp is providing us with HTTP error here, which we can easily use to throw some errors in our functions here. And what we are doing here right now, pretty much, so the contract it has to be an async function with arguments and contexts. So argument is pretty much provided by developers. So whatever, it's going to be task information like description, is it done or not? And context is stuff provided by Wasp. Specifically, it's going to be, for example, user. So you can see if the person who is making the request is it authenticated or not, and you can protect your route if you wish, or your query here, action here if you wish. And again, here we are also getting access to database model, or pretty much, Prisma SDK is being wrapped around right here. So we can do creation action here with the data from argument. Right now it is only description, so it's all very simple. So once we have done that, let's now make sure, let's add the front-end code to create a new task and a form for that. So let's go back to our main page, which is right here, and let's add some stuff. So again, I will add an action on the front end. So what we have to do, we just have to import it in a similar way like we did before. So you see, we just say Wasp actions and then create task. And although this is actually Node.js function, which is being executed on the backend, obviously, Wasp is making sure that API is created for us, and there is a generated function that's of the same name, which we can invoke directly from the front end. So API is here hidden under the hood, and you can just use the function you define from the backend immediately on the front end, which is pretty handy and helps us move faster. So let's do that, and then also let's create a form for creating a new task. So I will just copy this and put it right here. Nice, new task form, and then let's also include it in our page. So let's make it like here. Okay, that's it. Now we have added the form, we have added the action. So let's see how it works in action. Okay, everything seems to compile nicely, no errors. So let's go to our, oh, actually, I forgot one thing. We are now using use state. So let me just add that. See, this is all perfectly normal React. So everything what you need to do in React, you also have to do here. Let's see it now. Cool. So now we can actually see form for creating tasks, and we can do task 1, task 2, hello Prisma day. So again, we cannot see it yet, but we can quickly check it in our Prisma Studio, database studio. As you see, everything is operating correctly here. We are creating tests and getting successful 200 messages from the server. So let's see if it really worked or not. Again, running Wasp DB Studio. Okay, now we are still here at user, but let's go back. And yeah, we can see now that we also have, besides user, which we had before, we also have a task entity. So if we go here, yes, we can see all of our tasks. 1, 2, hello Prisma day. So it actually all worked. Yay. So the last part actually that I have to show you, let's see if there's anything I forgot. The last part is actually to show how to list tasks. And with that, we are going to have the full working application, to-do application. So it's going to be a bit faster because it's very similar to what you have seen right now. But let's go into it. So let's go back to our main Wasp file and I'll just move it here. So what we have to do right now is start with, we had an action. Now we want to have a query to fetch the tasks. So let's take it from here. Nice. Again, very similar. We are referencing here to the outside code, which is going to be doing majority of the job. And we are saying here, hey, this query is depending on the task entity. So if for any reason this entity is going to be changed by some action, like you need to know that you need to refresh this query and get us the latest information. Awesome. So now let's go back to queries here and create another file. So queries.js. Do the same thing as we did before. Again, pasting some pure Node.js code. And what are we doing here? Pretty much we don't care about arguments because we just want to get all the tasks, but we want to make sure that nobody who is not authenticated cannot access this. And the last part is just invoking Prisma's SDK, which is finds all the tasks in the database. And then the last part is just adding the front-end code for all of that. So what are we going to do here is we just need to add our query. So just putting it here in the very similar fashion. And we're also going to be using use query for reactive component data loading. So just putting it here in advance. And here is the short code for displaying our task list. Right here, so as you can see, this is few simple React components. This is pretty much just showing the input field with the description and is it done or not. And then again, here we are just listing all the tasks that we have. Let me just see if there is anything else. Actually, there is one more thing. Obviously, we want to make our component reactive, as I mentioned before. So what are we going to be doing is we're just going to add this part in main page component. Great. So what are we doing right here is using use query to make sure it uses this get tasks query to fetch all the latest information and assigning it to the variables specified on the website. So this is Wasp version of use query, but it is actually a very thin wrapper around the known and popular React query. We're just making it easier for you to omit some arguments and names and to make it more streamlined. So let's see how is all of this going. Oh, and actually we just need to add this form to our page. Yay. So right here, we are actually listing all of our tasks. So let's see if this works, or I forgot something. Cool, actually it works. Wow, from the first attempt, first try. Cool. So we can actually see it. It's right here. So let's say new task. Hello everyone. Yeah, immediately as we create a new task, because of this React query thing we are using, we are actually getting the live, live updating of all the information from the database and displaying it here on the front end. So that is it. Let me see if there is anything interesting here to show. But yeah, I think you saw the main idea. Basically, create a query, create the code which is going to be run on the server, and get the generated function on the front end, and just use it to create any user interface that you like, with some helpers from Wasp side as well. So yeah, that is it from the demo perspective. Now I will just go back to my presentation and give you a few outer words, and then we are happy to take any questions in case you have them. So let me just go back to the presentation and full presentation mode. Okay, right here. So as I mentioned, what we did is that we built a to-do application, and we showed how the full stack authentication works. And we also implemented typical CRUD operations, here specifically creating and listing our tasks. So thank you very much for looking to all of this so far. So as a reward, you get a little bit more information about our future roadmap and what we are excited to work on. So, short term, what we are looking to add is definitely support for TypeScript, for example, more authentication methods. We also believe that server-side rendering support is going to be very useful for developers, and some themes and layouts provided by us for easier prototyping and faster start. And then on the other hand, what we are very excited about and what we see as a big vision is support for other technologies as well, besides just React and Node.js. For example, like Vue on the front end, and even other languages like Go on the back end. So this is definitely more down the road, but this is something that we can do due to the DSL language approach abstraction that we are using to build Wasp. Then also support for like inline JavaScript or TypeScript, which means like you don't have to have separated the Wasp files and JavaScript files. We could actually make it possible to have them combined, so it's going to be nicer and more succinct version of code. And then there's like a lot of more crazy ideas, like having a visual editor, richer language, and all the tooling for deployment and monitoring around it. But all of that is still in the future. And yes, that is it regarding our roadmap. And just kind of a small call to action for you, how you can get involved and help us evolve Wasp. So the kind of best thing that we can get from you is, if you try Wasp out and use it to build your applications, your MVPs, your prototypes, and give us your feedback in the Discord or GitHub, whatever works for you. Also, we are looking for more open source contributors. We have a few who are very passionate, and we are very excited to be working with them. It's a great help from the community. So also, anybody who is helping us or building applications, let us know, and we are happy to give you our t-shirt, which are going to be designed very soon. And yeah, last part, just if you want to express your support, you can start our repository on GitHub. And as I mentioned, join our Discord community. We are very warm and welcoming folks there, happy to help and happy to hear all of your ideas, kudos and boosts, whatever you have is helpful for us. So yes, just to wrap it up, thank you very much all for being here. It was very exciting both for me and Martin to be able to present the state of Wasp as it is. And yeah, now we are happy to take any questions if there are any. I will also just open the chat to see if there is anything there. Chat right here. Awesome. Well, what I see, you don't have right now, or do you? Have you heard of Phoenix Elixir? Yes, it's a good question. You can also take some of the questions, Mark, so don't think I'm monopolizing you. Yes, I would say the main difference between solutions like Elixir, Elixir is just a backend solution, right? But with Phoenix, it becomes the full stack solution. I would say the main difference between Wasp and in general, frameworks for web application development, which is actually Wasp is very similar to, Meteor or Ruby on Rails in in the problem domain that it is solving. I would say the main difference is in technical approach, which means, as I mentioned, that we are building a DSL language, configuration language, which gives us opportunity to provide more and higher abstractions, and actually to support multiple technologies down the road, and also possibly multiple architectures. Right now, we could also add support for serverless or some even more advanced architectures, and even allow for people to combine or mix and match, maybe even in the same application. So I would say it's very similar in the domain and the problem we are solving. It is the main differences in the technical approach of building a language, which is more similar, let's say, to Terraform and similar solutions out there. If I missed anything, feel free, Martin, to also add.
I actually can't see the questions.
Okay, Martin cannot see the questions. I'm on my own. Okay, yeah. Awesome. Cool. And thank you very much, Jason, for this question. If anything else I can clarify, feel free to write either here or later on our Discord. I'd be happy to discuss more and also get your feedback if you have experience with these kind of tools. Great. Thank you very much. Seems like we don't have any other questions right now. Okay, cool. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, seems like we don't have any questions right now. So no reason to end the conversation here. Feel free to just ping us on Discord anytime, and we are excited to answer there and discuss. We're very happy to do that. So yeah, once again, thank you everybody so much for attending. Super excited to be here and to be able to show you what is Wasp all about. So yeah, join us on Discord, see us on GitHub, and we are looking forward to staying in touch. Thank you and have a great evening.